Hi, team, and welcome to another episode of the Health is Wealth podcast. This week is episode 18, and we've got a special guest on, the one, the only, the legend himself. We've got Joe Nichols. So, what we're going to discuss on this call, obviously, we've got Gary, we've got John and Greg as well. We're all going to be shotting questions at Joel, putting him right in the spot. As we know as well, these aren't scripted. Joel hasn't got a clue what I'm going to ask him, so bear with us, team, as well there. So, Joel, thanks for jumping on. I know you're very busy, and so, Joel, I want to start at the very beginning. You know, when I
Mm.
first reached out to you on LinkedIn, you know, what made you come on board in the first place? You know, what was the big driving force?
Yeah, it's a great question because and without diving, way deep into it, I'll just say, I'm a guy, my journey's interesting. Like you get into my 20s, and so computer programmer, back then I ate jelly beans and drank Mountain Dew multiple times a day with some milkshake chasers in the evening. It's not exactly doing my best. So I got to near 300 pounds. But I'm a fairly smart guy, and I realized that that was not just a good way to live. And so started doing little things myself. And it's amazing how doing that I was able to curtail it. I got big into running, ran 1,000 miles a year for 5 straight years. It was just, big into running, and lost a lot of weight, and it helped. But slowly over time, especially as my 30s ended and I got into my 40s, the weight just trickled up at like 5 pounds a year, 7 pounds a year, slowly. And I thought, okay, so as we get into the 2020s, I really got after it. I ran um, 21 kilometers in 2020. Okay, it was COVID, right? I had a lot of time on my hands. So um, you'd think that that would do it. And I didn't lose any weight at all. And I was like, man, I'm eating healthy. I'm eating almonds by the handfuls at night, just, all these things that were probably generally healthy, but I still kept putting weight on. Then I started traveling, and that's about when you reached out to me. I was traveling a lot, getting asked to dinners, not able to just dedicate the time because I wasn't consistent on where I was putting my head at night. And I was really getting bad. And so the weight just kept getting worse. And so I was intrigued at the conversation. And I'll tell you where my mind was, Craig, was I first thought, I'm like, seems like a nice fella, but I know what to do. Like, it's not that I don't know. Like, I know what to do. I'm not sure what I'm going to get out of this, but let's hear him out because as much as I might know what to do, it feels like I'm not getting where I should be. It's weird. So that was why we started having conversations.
Yeah, cool. So, and by the way, I just want to let everyone know, Joe, it'll be coming up in October, September, is it? September, October. You've been with
Yeah.
us for 3 years.
Yep. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So, how are you feeling, you know, before you started, Joe, like compared to like throughout this journey? You know, how are you feeling when I know you said like you were
Yeah.
obviously mega busy, you know,
Yeah.
traveling and but how did you feel then compared to how you feel now?
Well, I always have these visions of the fat kid in the mirror from my 20s, and he was starting to show up again, only this time he looked old. So now that's an old fat guy in the mirror. And I just was hating that feeling, and I was lethargic. Um, I'm generally highly motivated, but sometimes figuring out where to put that and how to use it, like you end up like, wow, I was motivated, but somehow I still sat on the couch, or just, again, couldn't be consistent on anything I was doing. And it was just a lack of control. And so it's probably the best way I would describe it. So, not good about myself at all. Um, I was not getting good numbers from my doctor. Got put on cholesterol medicine for a couple of years before that. And it was just, and that was starting to trickle up again. It's like, what is going on? I mean, I'm in my late 40s. Like, that's young. So
Yeah. Okay. And you're not on the cholesterol now, are you? The medication this time.
I I am. I'm on the lowest dose, but
Oh, that's
honestly, I'm
right.
not. Yeah, I'm not sure. I probably could go off of it because I think my last cholesterol numbers they were basically bottoming out. And my doctor's like, "Well, I if you don't have any side effects, I love really low numbers, so let's just stay with it." I said, "That's fine."
Okay. What habits and routines do you feel's made the biggest difference in your progress so far then, Joel?
Uh, I don't know that it's one thing, Craig. It's everything. I think the thing I enjoy the most, it's kind of funny, right? We're all wired a little bit different. This is one thing I like about working with you is you get me and you get that I'm different than some clients and
No comment.
the way we have to motivate me is different because once I get into working out, like yeah, I want to work out. Like I every day, all the time. If I had more time in the day, I think a 2 hour workout a day would be fantastic. I just love lifting weights. And I didn't feel that way when I started with you, by the way. So this has become an
Yeah.
evolution. But I think that has become the most important thing to me, but that's because it's so good for me mental. As much as it's good for me physically, that mental piece is incredible. Just I can be down and frustrated and I go to the gym, I move the weights. I move the weights, I move the weights, I check the boxes, I close it out. Whether I get a personal best or not at this point, man, my body tells me, wow, we worked and we worked in a really good way.
Okay. Okay. And what would you say you're most proud of yourself of during this journey so far, Joel? What do you look back on and think, I'm proud of myself here.
It's kind of a weird one, but increasing my water. Like just I still
That's,
don't like
that's,
I don't like drinking water. It's just I grew up drinking soda pop and fruit juice. It's yeah, there you are. I'm by the way, I'm having a little it's still morning here,
there's
so
fruit
this
juice
is
in it.
coffee. This is coffee. It's not Guinness. Um so anyway, but I go from my coffee to my water and I alternate and I've figured out different hydration things I can do with the water, but I'm really proud of that because it just took kind of all right, let's do it. And I remember talking to you about that, and I'm like, I wonder what happens if I can increase the water. And you're like, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be amazing. I'm like, nothing sounds great and amazing about increasing my water, Craig, but I did it, and I was like, wow, it is weird how much that helps just carry over from everything from your digestion to your skin to your hydration, throughout lack of cramps, a lot of things really moved as a result.
Okay. Okay. And as we all know, like during the journey, when it comes to progress, it's never linear. We have roadblocks now and then. What would you say has been the toughest part of the journey so far then, Joel? I think this will be
Yeah,
good for the simple reason. Obviously, like I mentioned, we all have tough times, and we all have
right.
times when we can't be asked to go to the gym and things like that. What would you say has been like the toughest part?
I'm going to give you a good answer, but I'm going to start with the funny answer because you'll like it. But it's when Craig makes me go on a diet break. It just in like And no,
Indeed.
because yeah, I know exactly. That's what he keeps telling me. He's like, you need a break from the gym. You need a diet break. And I'm like, that's not how I feel right now, Craig. Like, let's just try. I can live on 1,000 calories in 2 hours in the gym. Let's do it.
But it works, doesn't it?
It does work. I know. That's why I said it's honestly not the toughest. I've kind of gotten now the belief is so good, but I'll tell you, in my first year in the program, when I was seeing the results, and you're like, all right, we needed a diet break. I'm like, I don't think so. So, um, realistically, the toughest thing now here I am, yeah, won't be long and I'll be hitting 3 years is the stress. And I'm not talking the stress of the program. I'm talking stress of life.
Yeah.
Stress hits, it throws off your sleep. Your sleep is off. It throws off your gym routine. Your gym routine's off, throws off what you're eating. The spiraling effect and even when you try to maintain control, and even when you do maintain control, because Craig's gotten messages from me via Slack going, Craig, I want to fricking eat 4,000 calories today. I'm just mad at the world. Things aren't going well. I need to do this, and he knows, one, I really won't do it. But two, it's just the stress. And he's like, you might need 500 extra calories today. Like, just don't, it's a journey. And this week may not be a weight loss week. This may be, my weight might trickle up a couple pounds, and
100%. Yeah.
it's part of the journey. And going through that, I for those who might be listening who are kind of doing executives, a lot of us are in executive roles, and it's like the profit and loss. Like, you hate any time that it's not trickling up and it's going down, but that's part of it, right? Weight loss, you want the other way. It's going to be, and you look at a big picture, but it's really stinks in the moment.
And they're all learning curves, aren't they? We learn from them, So how would you handle them days then, Joel? Other than messaging me.
Yeah, they're not, well,
Other than shouting at me.
Yeah, it's right. It is. Craig's like, that's what I'm here for. I'm like, yeah, you're getting shouting via Slack. Walking is really helpful for me. It really helps me de-stress. And because sleep is important, but sometimes I can't sleep because my head is trying to solve problems that aren't solvable. That's my issue. I'm a problem solver, and I feel like I can solve every problem. There are problems that you can't solve. You can mitigate, you can do a lot of things, but it doesn't feel good, and that stresses me out. And so walking helps. If I haven't been to the gym, going to the gym just feels so good. Now, by the way, did not feel that way for anybody who's in the first few months in the program. I can't say I was looking forward to gym at all. But those things do a lot. Deep breathing, I'm still very much a work in progress on this one. Craig will tell you, I'm like, I don't know why that is such a hard one for me. I think because for some reason, 30 seconds of sitting still is kind of against my nature. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing, Joel. And a bit of a hard question, this one, Joel. What mindset shifts did you have to make to keep progressing then, do you feel?
Yeah. This is an interesting one. I had this conversation with my kids the other day because they were like, what's your favorite food? I'm like, I love food. Like, I'm gonna just be very, very clear. Love food, eating, fantastic. Just please, yes. And so it was a strange question, but they were like, well, if calories didn't matter. I was like, I can't even get my mind in that anymore because they do matter. And because they matter, it affects what my favorite foods are, if that makes sense. Like, it's hard for me to understand anymore. Like, I used to love ice cream. Like I said, milkshakes. I think I still like them, but I can't say that's a favorite food because I know the impact. And so I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. I can't allow myself to, make that my number one. I love a good scoop. We live near some awesome ice cream places. And so, yeah, going and having a special treat, but it's still within my calories. And so I enjoy that, but I don't love it more than, oh, I mean, a good rotisserie chicken, well seasoned, moist. I mean, just, yeah, like, 12 ounces of that. And like, that sounds great.
Excellent. And what was that place called we went to in Boston where we got them
Ceviches?
Cannoli, them cakes, was it Mike's?
Oh,
What was it?
Mike's pastries, right? Cannolis. Yeah. You say I did not have the calories for that, so I didn't have any.
I had 3.
Sure you did. Yeah, well, so you were in a calorie loading phase, Greg.
I was looking at Greg's as well. I was looking at Greg's. I thought if he walks away, I might just take a bite. But yeah. So right back to it. So, and like, I feel this is going to help the other guys and the new guys. This question, Joel. How do you plan your day from the nutrition? How do you plan your food ahead of time, or is it on the?
I mean, there's There was a brief time in the program where I didn't have a crazy schedule that involved a fair bit of travel and everything. We remember those days, Craig. It was easy because planning was literally like, oh, here's what I'm going to eat for the day, and probably this for the entire week. Um, Mine continues to evolve because my work evolves, my schedule evolves, everything kind of changes.
Mm,
But my planning always happens. And it's a bit of a daily planning now where I wake up, I kind of know what I'm going to start with for breakfast. Um, and I know where I want to be from a macro standpoint and a calorie standpoint, kind of on either side of my workout. And by lunch, it happens to be we have a menu for places for lunch here at work. So I've got an idea when I'm eating for lunch. I'm pretty much planned until dinner happens. Um, and currently my dinners are unique. I'm getting, for those that are more outside of I'm in the Boston area, we've got a really neat company called Nutra that does fresh meal planning, and it's got all the macros and the calories on it. And they have a plus protein version, which I love. So you can get like 55 grams of protein in a 300 calorie meal, which is awesome. So I've got those in my freezer, and that way I can kind of go, all right, I get, they're 300 to 500 calories. So depending on how I'm doing, that becomes my ad hoc as I round out the day.
yeah, yeah. And I tell you what, it would be good as well, Joel, if you can, that Nutrient. Can you get them online? Is it online as well, or
Yeah,
yeah? Yeah,
absolutely. It's still they only deliver regionally. So for anybody that's in the New England region, I like them better than Factor.
right.
And just yeah. I mean, to me, fresh food that you can get on Monday. I don't order. What I usually do is buy them a little bit in bulk every 3 weeks and throw them in the freezer because then you could just bring them
Yeah,
out and microwave
convenient.
them.
Convenient, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
what it's all
yeah. I don't
about, isn't it, Nick?
I don't get I don't get home from work, so I leave to give people an idea. My average work day when I'm in the office, I leave home at 5:30. I get home about 8 or 8:30 at night. So it's a long day. And I mean, so I don't I'd love to be cooking fresh food. I do that stuff on the weekends, grill out some
Yeah,
salmon and tilapia and just we have seafood wonderful here. So that kind of thing. But during the week, it's having that Nutra meal is a fantastic way for me to eat well.
yeah, yeah. And they're crazy hours as well, Joel, and I respect you for that. How successful you've been in this program, and the only reason why you have been so successful is because you've been committed and consistent. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
And adapting, Craig. I mean, like I think that's what I would tell people. It's like
yeah.
it's
I
okay,
don't think
things adapt.
I don't think you've missed one day tracking, have you?
I've missed 2 in 3 years, 2 days.
Ah,
One you
right,
said we
okay.
didn't have to. It was the Christmas. I was like,
Well, I looked
hey,
earlier,
Greg.
I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Yeah,
So
excellent. Yeah, well done,
yeah, because
well done,
I
Joel.
mean, maybe, and I think that's another big piece I would say, Craig, or anybody that's in this. It's like tell the truth because you're paying for it, and better to
Exactly.
be. I think my worst day, I want to say 1,300 calories over. But I put them in there, and Greg and I talked about it, and he's like, yeah, all right. I was like, it was a bad day. But I had to put it in there. And you know what? I did not suddenly that we have this fear, again, the fat that I'm gonna wake up the next morning and fat guy's back in the mirror, like just overnight, because I had 1,300 extra calories. Doesn't happen. Didn't actually gain weight that week overall. I did some good walking and everything worked out, but we have that fear and then we think the program's over, and it's not. It's you just work with your coach and stuff happens.
Communicate.
Yeah,
And
that's a big deal. Hey, Craig, sorry,
okay.
one more before you ask a question. Just, I was thinking another one where you kind of talked about meal planning. So when I
Mm,
started the program, you'll remember this. I was traveling to Philadelphia every week, 5 days a
mm,
week. It was brutal.
yeah, yeah.
And I remember telling Craig, is I'm still kind of, I'm like, you talk about meal planning. Like, I don't, what am I supposed to do? So I adjusted where I stayed. I moved to a different hotel. It was what was a half-mile walk to a Wegmans. For those that aren't around here, Wegmans is a fantastic grocery chain, really
Hmm.
good food. And they have those rotisserie chickens in a bag for $10. And so what I did was I landed, I went over there, I got a bag of chicken, and I was eating so much chicken at that point in time. I would eat about half of it that night. I peeled the rest of it off the bones, put it in containers, and I had it for like a couple more meals as the week went on. But I started meal planning in my hotel, and it was a Homewood suite, so I could
Excellent.
do light cooking. And it was amazing how well then I was able to kind of, all right, I'm on the program. This is working.
Yeah, and all this traveling, because you still travel, don't you, Joe?
Yeah,
With your business, your work, your own business, and things
yeah,
like that. And how do you navigate it? How do you, what like, because lots of our clients do travel, and this is what they
yeah,
find the most challenging part, because there's alcohol, there's we
yep.
all know, nobody's forcing the alcohol down your
That's right.
neck or anything,
Yeah,
which again, we're not against it. We're not against alcohol whatsoever. You know,
right.
what we are against is too much alcohol. Obviously, it's
Yeah,
going to
that's right.
stall
Of course.
progress. If you're good through the week, on a weekend, you're smashing the beers in and the pizzas and things like that. You're just basically
Yep.
wasting,
No.
you
Yeah, I
know.
mean, I think from travel, by the way, a quick note on alcohol. I enjoy a good drink. Um, and again, Craig will find that in my calories because he knows. But I always tell him, I'm like, look, my macros, I'm really light on carbs because it's going to have a beer and a glass of wine in there probably. So
Yeah.
that's where the carbs come. But
You're not a
like,
big drinker, are you, Joel? It's
no, no.
and
I
unless
like
you're not putting it all in.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's there. I enjoy a social one or something at the end of the day. But again, only if I have the macros and the calories to support it. And I would say, yeah, if it's not if it's a, that's something I enjoy. It's not required. I also go through at least a month and probably a couple times a year where I don't have a thing because I enjoy not having that. Like I still find that's a really important thing to have in my life. Um, but from a travel standpoint, let's talk about those dinners. For those executives out there, you get invited to a dinner, what's going to happen? Look, most of the time, and you guys all know this, you probably know where you're going. Your admins are putting it on your calendar. You know the name of the place. Spoiler alert, every menu is online these days. You know what's going to be there. And by the way, if it doesn't have the menu, or if you're not 100% sure and it's small, these fancy places, just tell them, say, "Hey, I need boiled chicken," or something. And by the way, it doesn't have to be that boring. I'll tell you, I was traveling last week, Craig. I ended up getting invited, I kid you not, to 3 executive dinners in one night. So I only went to two, but I did go to both of them. I had a Chilean sea bass at both of them and a salad. So,
Yeah,
you know, it was
yeah.
great.
Lots of
So
protein, very little
yeah.
carbs. A
Oh, and,
few,
and you have the
then
taste
you've
was
got a bit of room
amazing.
for your few glasses of
Exactly.
wine and things. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I
And
made
that's
it.
the
I
way to
made
do
my
it.
I think I was 120 calories over that day. It was not way over, it was a
Yeah.
touch, but yeah, it was like you can absolutely make it work. But I planned that. I knew I was like, all right, if I'm going to two, and I also would say, by the way, when I say planning, we get in our heads that this is some hours worth of work. It's not an hour's worth of work. You all have a phone, you're all stuck on an elevator, you're all waiting for people to show up to meetings and they don't show up, right? And you got a few minutes. Those few minutes are what works. I was just before I joined this podcast, I was looking up the lunch menu today so I could get an idea of where I was going to be in my head for the calories.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, right. I'm going to open up the discussion now to anyone that has any questions for Joel. John.
Yeah, so Joel, again, always love to talk to you, man.
I
You're
know.
super inspiring, really, really great to see you today. So,
Feel the
um,
same way, John. Feel so
yeah,
much the
man,
same way.
yeah, love getting this group together. Love it. So for me, and just kind of to piggyback on what you were just saying a moment ago, a couple of things that stood out in my mind was just that there was a point in time where you were traveling. I remember you were just on a plane every day, right? And you were all over the place. We just saw you hanging out with Greg over in over on the other side of the
That's
country
right.
there. So, but there was a point in time that you were just constantly on that. So, kind of my question is twofold. first of all, with I think there's a lot of people, a lot of folks coming into this programs and really get in your head like I'm the busiest person on earth, right? There's some people who just are kind of like nobody could possibly be busier than me, right? And how am I going to make this program work? And then the other side of it is you brought up the alcohol, and I remember you showed us you had a whiskey night with your friends where you all wear weird hats or something like that.
That's it. Yes, it's true.
And that stood out in my mind. So really, when I think about busy and when I think about sacrifice, I think about how you have really shown an example for how a busy person can tackle this program. And on the other side of it, not necessarily sacrifice, right? Because I think, again, like how am I going to make this work? Do I got to put myself in a cave and really just eat 1,000 calories a day and and never socialize ever, right? And you've kind of broken all that down. So in your mind, is it hard? Is it easy? What do you say to people who are like, I'm the busiest person on earth and I'm never going to be able to enjoy myself again?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic question, John, because it's like, yeah, I don't, and I know I'm not the busiest person because I'm always amazed at people I meet that are busier. But yeah, I'm pretty much, I have two modes, move and sleep. And I say move because, yeah, I work hard, but I do enjoy things too. Yeah, I have a group of guys about 3 times a year. We get together for what's become expensive Scotch night because we're all at a stage in life where we're like, we don't get to do this very often. I'm not drinking cheap stuff anymore. We're not drinking a lot of it either. It's also not working for us. So we enjoy that, but it's the camaraderie. So we find time for those things. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, we find time for what we prioritize. And that's really what it comes down to. As busy as you are, I find I'm really good at overlapping things and multitasking and doing things like that. So, when you're on an airplane, what are you doing? You watching a movie? Well, I mean, I do that sometimes. It's great, but sometimes you can do some work. Sometimes you can do other things, right? And you enjoy watching a game or doing things that way. You can be doing meal prep while you're watching a game. I've combined my walking when I'm not outside with treadmill for shows I want to, watch and keep up on, especially good action movies. Let me tell you, nothing's better because if you think you're going to walk for 20 minutes and it's a 45-minute, like episode that you're streaming, yeah, you're going to walk for 45 minutes. It works. And you're just totally lost in it because you're just, there's so much action going on. So I, I find that you can figure out ways to combine it together and it doesn't actually feel like a sacrifice anymore. Because the life just fits, but it wasn't that way at first. And so when you start the program, yeah, you're going to have to move things around because it's the only way, but you do that with anything, right? Like if you're starting a new job and you're commuting differently, you're moving things around. So, I think those are, you just have to kind of view it and then you'll see where stuff starts to really fit together like a glove.
Awesome. Joel, you're an inspiration.
Anyone else? Gary?
I'll jump in really quickly. Joel, amazing to meet you.
Gary.
Yeah, it's amazing to see, coming up to 3 years and, the evolution of yourself. And I think it's very important for people who are only starting the program or only in the program a couple of months to hear that it wasn't like that when you first started. It kind of gives people hope as well. That's like year 1 versus year 3 is very, very different. So I appreciate, all your vulnerability, your honesty, your courage. But we talked quickly before we jumped on the call and you were kind of saying, we have our peaks and valleys and sometimes you go through periods where you're like, yeah. I would like to know when you're in that valley. Okay, when we're in our peaks, everything is going good. It's easy.
Yeah.
But when you're in the valley, what do you tell yourself? Or in that moment, kind of where's your mindset or where's your kind of programming and what do you kind of your inner voice sound like that maybe other people might be able to kind of get some inspiration from or
Yeah. Well, I wish I had it completely nailed because if so, I'd be such an incredible person if that were true. But sometimes you reach out and get another voice in your head to help readjust that voice. That's why obviously Craig, as my coach. But it's kind of funny, John and Greg, even before they were coaching, and they were two guys I gravitated toward because I found they were guys I admired. And then it's funny how, by the way, people you find that you start admiring, they admire you too, because what you really are drawn to is this like-mindedness of, hey, I'm fallible. I got bad days, and I hate to admit it, but it happens. But otherwise, I need guys who go through that to help me on the good days too. Except Greg. Greg, I don't think you have bad days. I don't know. Just it's maybe most consistent guy I've ever met. But
Truth.
yeah. But when I tell myself in my head, because I've been through enough of these valleys, Gary, it's just that it's a valley. Look at my stock portfolio. I don't go selling the moment things are going down because, yeah, you just miss out. You'll always be losing when that happens. So in my head, I let myself know, you know what I need to do is just put the work in. If I go
Yes.
put the work in,
Yes. Like it.
I will not be worse off.
Yes.
And mentally, I will feel better. And it's tricky because sometimes it's strange as it sounds. I want to go to the gym 99% of the time, but there are days when I'm in my own head and Craig got one of these.
Get out the
I'm
gym.
done. I'm never working out again. I quit the program. Just hate life. It's terrible. And Craig's like, I'm there for you, buddy. Whatever you need. It's okay. Yeah. End of the day, guess what happened? I did my workout because I
And
I
send me
just
a
got
picture.
yeah, it's so true. Yeah, just because in my head, I knew that I needed to do that even in the valleys. And it was not a workout where, by the way, I had no personal bests, no heaviest weight lift. It was going through the motions. But weightlifting training in general is one that going through the motions is better than not going.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few things in life that's that way, right? Like if you're going through the motions, you don't want that every day, but boy, that sure beats not going.
Yeah. I think it's just ticking them boxes and then knowing that you will eventually climb out of that valley to be back in that peak,
Yeah.
I think something that stood out is that you kind of expanded the time horizon and you didn't really think short term. You're really looking at the long term picture. The same with like an S&P 500 or something, that if you're just constantly, it's like the compound effect, isn't it? So I think
That's
if we
right.
apply it into the fitness aspect, I think everyone can win, So it's just playing the long game, it's like aggressive patience in the short term, knowing that the results will come. But honestly,
One
super important to hear you, Joel.
one more quick one I'll say is have goals.
Yeah.
Adjust your goals. Craig started me on this fairly early. I got past the 6 month point, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm staying. I'm not interested in going because, but he's like, well, let's have new goals. And so I started setting goals and things, and haven't hit all the goals. Then we readjust, but then I will hit things. One just last year, it was crazy. At the beginning of the year, I set a bench press goal because I was like, wow, I'm lifting more than my entire life. And I used to only bench press, by the way, in college, because I thought the best way to get better at bench pressing is to bench press more, right?
Yeah.
So here I am, here I am, a guy weighing about 270 pounds, and I'm like, yeah, I'm bench pressing 250, and I thought that was really good. And suddenly here I am, a guy weighing under 220 now, and it's like bench pressing far better than that. And I was like, Craig, do you think I can hit a really big number? Like, let's just set this goal.
Calm
Craig's like, of
down.
course you can. Yeah. Yeah, well, actually, he said, "Don't hurt yourself."
Of course you can, but
But
don't injure yourself.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was then the funny thing was I was like, well, let's just load up with bench press all day. No, Craig's got me working on lats. He's got me working on tries. He's got me working on core. And I'm like, how's this gonna help with bench? And guess what? Guess what I did before the year was up? I hit all three of my goals for bench press. So
Excellent. Smashed it, buddy. Smashed it. Anyone else? Greg?
Yeah, so I know we're running a little bit long here, and just as an aside, just to go on the record, I have plenty of bad days, despite what Joel might think.
Me too.
So I guess, so Joel, I'm curious, and maybe you partially just answered it, but like when you started this program, what's something that you thought was impossible that then as you moved forward in time became possible?
I'll say this carefully because I almost feel it's a different kind of self-conscious now, but like I have a V shape on my body. I never thought, and I have shoulders, and I never thought possible. And it wasn't even an initial goal. Yeah, I've got biceps now. Like, it's that wasn't my original goal, but when you put the work in and do things, and then I remember that's why I started adjusting. I'm like, I kind of like this, Craig. Like, what? I didn't think I could actually put muscle on. I even had one of these. I did ancestry DNA trait testing. One of the things it says in there is there's the somewhat likely, highly likely to be able to put muscle on. I tested from according to a genetic standpoint, I have a low likelihood to put muscle on. But it's like anybody that tells you can't do something.
But you
I
are.
love, yeah. I tell it's what you
So
do.
that
Just,
DNA
all
is
right.
wrong.
Yeah. Just put the work in. And, put the work in. I'm probably not a natural runner, but I can run because you put the work in.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Joel, I just want to say thank you very much for your time. This has been excellent. I think it's going to really help everyone. And I just want to end it on, guys, I know like 99% of our clients, of you all in here, are mega busy, crazy busy, but it can still be done. And all of these guys here on this podcast, they've all done it.
Yeah.
And if they can do it, you can do it. It's about not giving in. It's about not giving it like a lot of people, what they do when they find it really hard, they tend to hide. They tend to give in. But what's the alternative? And this is why we invest in coaches. It's like myself. I have a health coach myself. I have a business coach. I have a sales coach. I have coaches for all areas in my life that's going to make me a better person. That's going to make improvements. It's going to help me get to my 2.0. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. And thanks for watching. And just as a reminder, 2nd of August is the next meetup. So I'm going to keep posting it and posting it. We want as many as we can there. And we're going to be posting the details within the next 7 days of how it's going to work, where we're going, where we're staying, and everything. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. And again, if there's anything you want us to discuss on this podcast, anything you're struggling with, just shoot us a message. And if you want to keep anonymous, we don't need to mention who it was, but the more you ask us, the more we can help. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.